video games are extremely popular. All ages and demographics are playing video games. The type of game may vary, depending on what you're into. But one thing that they have in common is that they can be looked at as an escape from thinking. Now, when you first learn a video game, there's a lot of thought involved because you have to learn what controllers to use, or if you're playing on your computer, what keyboard keys are used and what does what. But a lot of people love just really, really simple games that can be instantly understood. Like Angry Birds is a big one for smartphones, and any kind of thing where you line up jewels or blocks or bricks and make them disappear or whatever. It's like, if it's simple, it's easier to pick up, and you can go right into the more meditative aspect, which is a break from your thinking. And so a lot of people just say, well, video games, it's entertainment, it's escapism. And it is, but there is another element to it that I think is what people are drawn to, which is when you start paying attention to the mind and its chatter, it is a really uncomfortable place to be. And most suffering comes from the mind and what we do to ourselves with our thoughts and our grasping and our frustrations and saying, I wish things were different, and that kind of internal chatter. So I think people are drawn to video games to take a break from thinking, and that is what meditation in general, as a general use of that word, is about. Taking a break from thought. So a lot of people who identify as spiritual, they like to see themselves as above things. I'm above television, I'm above video games, whatever. And that's just ego. It's like, to be spiritually oriented, you don't have to reject or renounce things. You just go where there's a charge. Follow the charge and move through it, and eventually perhaps nothing will have a charge, but perhaps something will always have a charge. But you might lose interest in everything except communication or presence, and be like Eckhart Tolle and just get into being. But even he likes to read, and sometimes he'll reference watching movies and that kind of thing. And so you go where there's a charge, and if video games hold a charge, I've myself found that I'm not that interested in games that simulate war. But if I was a teenager, I'm sure I would have been into that. They didn't have that realistic kind of thing when I was a teen so much, but I can understand the appeal. It's a cathartic release. And games I like are football, Madden on the Wii, and a new one called hoopworld or hoopsworld, the basketball game on the Wii. And I also like playing this kind of a puzzle game on the Nintendo called Advance Wars. And that's not as military as it sounds. It's more like chess, only with little vehicles and planes and things like, tanks and infantry, and move them around. And these, I find, are a nice break from thought, and they're also a way to amuse myself because I have a lot of spaciousness in my life. And sometimes I feel that it can be an attitude adjustment. Like, I could be upset about something, and then I play some kind of game for a while, and then I get kind of a release from whatever pattern of thinking that I was in, and feel like I can go in a different track. And we can, do all this stuff without games, of course. We can just go into pure meditation, sit there, be with our thoughts. But I think that games cannot just be discounted as immature distractions. There's something about them that can be useful if they're kept in balance. And anything can be out of balance in your life. I mean, you could do traditional meditation to the point where you just get up and you You sit and you just are present all day, and you don't really deal with your finances or relationships or whatever, because you get kind of blissed out on that. And that can happen with video games too. You don't deal with the things that need to be dealt with in your life, so it's out of balance. And I think that the best way to stay calm is to deal with what needs to be dealt with. If you need to deal with something financially, if you need to deal with some kind of relationship situation, don't move away from that. Don't use anything to escape from that. But for those who, enjoy games and are keeping it in balance and still deal with what needs to be dealt with in their life, don't beat yourself up or say that there's something wrong with you because you like it. It is deeply appealing to break away from your thought. And as you continue to do more work on yourself and in your life, you'll naturally find less conflicted thought within your mind, and your mind will be a more gentle place to be. So you'll find things like reading or just being still more pleasant. So if you're highly conflicted about your life and you're using games to get away from the pain, then you got to deal with your life. And if you're a kid who has horrible parents, like many millions of kids do, then it's understandable that you want to escape from that situation until you can get away from your family situation. But see what your options are too. If you can live with other relatives or friends, or report any abuse or dysfunction that's going on in your family to authorities and change your situation, that's helpful too. So those are my thoughts on video games as a meditative process. Thanks for listening.